This is a thing called I'm Going Home by helicopter.
Well, we didn't go home by helicopter. That was a lie because they stopped running. The minute it gets dark, they don't run, and you wouldn't see anything. Going in, you know that if you imagine those helicopters in Apocalypse Now, with the big door open where they have the machine gun. Well, they had I guess they call him a dispatcher that was hanging out, leaning out over the thing, and I had a movie camera, and he took some film hanging out of the chopper. Really? I was sat in the seat, but I could see it was just a sea of bodies, basically, you know, as you flew in. And parked cars. Lots of people abandoned the cars because they wouldn't go. They would, you know, you got so far and then you had to walk. Yeah. They expected 150,000 maximum, and they got. Some people say 500,000, 400,000. You know, however many.
When you played, was that after or before the big rainstorm?
We were about to go on, and it started to rain. Not our fault, of course. That was nature, and. It went on then for maybe 4 hours, and then just before we went to go on, Country Joe rushed on, a managerial coup, I think, and they went on straight after the rain, which meant we had to wait yet another hour. So, but the residue of the rain was still there when we went on. The stage was flooded. There were cables across the stage, and in between the cables, it was little rivers of water. Yeah.
Sounds dangerous.
It was very dangerous. I mean, the whole thing was dangerous. That they'd had a mudslide. The stage was a makeshift stage, and either side of the stage they built what you would call viewing platforms for VIPs, press, etc., etc. And the weight of the stage was forcing the stage was slowly sliding down the hill. I think it had moved about a foot. So they tried to limit the people on the stage. And then, of course, there were the towers that were a little precarious. It was hair-raising. I mean, it was a wonderful event from the point of view of that many people with similar ideals got together, and contrary to the uptightness of the people that supported the Vietnam War and all those things. So it was a success in that, but a disaster too in the term of statistic disaster.
A small wonder they fulfilled the program and everything happened.
It's a surprise that it actually went through. I mean, you probably know, and you can read it if you didn't, that it wasn't even at Woodstock. It was scheduled to be at Woodstock, and at the last minute, the local authorities wouldn't grant the license, so they moved it to Bethel, which was 41 miles away from Woodstock, in the Catskill Mountains, the acidic Alps, you know. That's which if you've seen Dirty Dancing or that, you know, the acidic Alps are where Jewish people from New York used to go to the summer camps, and all of a sudden 500,000 strange people descended on their traditional holidaying place. That must have been really weird for them too.
Yeah. Were you nervous before going on stage and doing your gig?
No, I wasn't nervous. I was pissed off. I was hungry. Yeah. And I went down. We flew from St. Louis, Missouri the night before. We were playing. We'd done the Newport Jazz Festival, I think July the 4th. We were on a 7-week American tour, our 4th tour, and we'd gone on tour to do a few selected dates with Newport Jazz, and there was St. Louis. So we did the St. Louis show and flew up to LaGuardia, I think, and then drove up to Liberty, which is where the Holiday Inn was. Up early, nothing to eat, get to the Holiday Inn, there's no room at the inn, and there's no food at the inn, but there's a whole load of people there, all, you know, Hendrix and Joplin and Sly Stone, and everyone's kind of hanging out there waiting to go. So I thought I'll get something to eat down at the venue. So hitched a ride on the first helicopter going down, and that's when I ran into Pete Townsend, who said, "Don't eat or drink anything that's not. Don't drink anything that's not out of a can, not a sealed can, and don't eat anything because it's all spiked with acid." Okay. So that was the food thing out. Yeah. Joe Cocker flew in. I watched Joe Cocker's show, and I think he then took off in a helicopter. And by the time I wondered what was happening, it started to rain. We were due to go on straight after Joe. So I spent, I think, 6 hours in the back of a U-Haul truck, watching the rain coming down.
I guess you got paid, but now you're mentioning Pete Townshend. I heard the story about the Who denying to go on until they actually saw cash.
Maybe so. I mean, it was a gladiatorial fight between the managers back at the Liberty, who was getting paid, who was going on, what order they were going on, etc., etc. I honestly don't know. I didn't see any money. I've read, as you probably have, that we allegedly got about $3,500. But I mean, when we toured in those days, you went out, you did a tour, they gave you, it's $20, go and enjoy yourself. And at the end of the tour, they did the accounts. And then they gave you some money. And you could never tie it down to what show, or whether it was even the right amount of money.
So you might have got paid for playing at Woodstock.
Well, I think, Mike, our former manager is a multi-millionaire, if not a billionaire. And I'm not a multi-millionaire, so I guess somebody got paid. Yeah.